Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Good evening to everybody. Time for the Daily Factor, which is my favorite show. Or I don't know, it's my favorite metric. It's a metric I designed that I think is a better way to evaluate these high yield funds than other ways that are currently available. All right, let's just look at a little diversified divas. We can look at that later. We can also check out the market and see what's going on, see if it's moving at this hour. Look at stock index futures, and I can already tell you they're not moving. So straight sideways. Okay, so the diversified divas. Now, sorry there wasn't a show last night. My apologies. I didn't feel like doing one, so I just ended up blowing it off. Anyway, I'll try not to let that happen again. But tonight's daily factor is going to be Tesla Tuesday, so it's a makeup for last night, right? Um, all right, so let's get our graphic out and let's meet our contestants in this Tesla Tuesday plus friends. We usually do Misty Monday and Tesla Tuesday, but usually I evaluate Tesla and a few other single stock ETFs, high yield ETFs that have a lot of surrogates. Like for instance, Tesla, Nvidia, and Coinbase. They each have 4 or 5, 6 high yield funds that are based on them, so it makes for a good comparison. I'm just going to throw them all into the same pot and compare them. We'll just look at Tesla, Nvidia, and Coinbase. We can look at them separately too. So let's start. Let's just go by. Start with high yield, like I always do. COYY. Geez, 306%. Okay, well, um, I mean, here's the problem. The price 15 days or 90 days. The price of 3 months ago was $15. Now the price is $7, $8. That's not good. That is not good. But it's based on Coinbase, and it's based on leveraged Coinbase. Bitcoin has been doing bad. So is Coinbase. And this has leverage, so it's doing extra bad. Ditto for ICOI. I don't know if this is leverage, but this is from Bitwise. It's also based on Coinbase. It's also in a world of hurt. Let's look here really quick. Am I sharing the screen? I am sharing the screen. All right. Let's just well, let's actually look at this. I just wanted to look at ICOI and COYY from Granite Shares. Well, there you have it. I mean, you can see here that ICOI doing slightly better, but I mean, not a whole lot. So 31% down to 28% down. I'd rather be 28% down than 31% down for sure. All right, so good job, ICOI from Bitwise. Let's see. Is that not? Yeah. Well, it has a familiar that chart pattern. That's the famous high yield. That's the famous high yield bull wedge, or that's the high yield bear wedge, or a high yield sell signal down and to the right. All right, let's see who's next. TSYY, based on Tesla, based on leveraged Tesla. It's from Granite Shares. 274% yield, but that's not really real. It's mainly because of how far or it's partly because of how far the NAV has dropped. It's also, it does pay a high yield. To be fair, this thing is paid well, it doesn't show the number. Anyway, whatever. Then we have NVYY, also from Granite Shares, 121% yield. NAV's gone from $23 to 18. Oh, I missed COIW. We have COIW from Round Hill. NAV's gone from 38 to 21. Ooh, that's ugly. Then we have NVDY. Now, this one pays a more reasonable yield of 80%. NAV's gone from 15.55 to 14.36. So it's down $1.09. I can handle that. You give me something that pays 80%, and it loses $1 worth of NAV every quarter. I'm good with that. I am good with that. NVIDIA, and that NVDY is one of the better ones. And then we have COII. This is from RexShares, 64% yield. NAV went from 23 to 15. So anything based on Coinbase is having issues. All right, TSLW, based on Tesla, of course, from Roundhill. NAV on this one over the past quarter has gone from 37 to 32. Not great. TS2 from Rex, also based on Tesla. NAV's gone from 27 and change to 25 and change. That's actually not too bad. On a comparative basis, this TS2 looks pretty good. TS2 did a little bit better on NAV. Well, it also paid a little bit of a lower yield too. So looks like it's doing about what it's supposed to do. Anyway, the rest of our contestants are NVDW. This is from Roundhill, 47% yield. NAV is down about $6 this quarter. NV2, the NAV is down about $3 this quarter, but it pays a 46% yield. Then we have TSLP from Curve. On this one, the NAV, look at this one. We have steady NAV. The NAV went from 23.74 to 23.45. We'll just call that steady. You give me steady NAV and a 33% yield, that's pretty dang good. Good job, TSLP. Good job, Curve. Good job, Howard Chan. Then we have TSLY. This thing's getting about a 25% yield. NAV's gone from $41 to $36. Then we have CONY. This is the lowest yield of the bunch. Wow, are you serious? This is YieldMax and it's the lowest yield of the bunch. The YieldMax, wow. So, because look, it's the other Coinbase products, CO2 yields 64%. There's another one, COIW, yields about twice that much, 120 something. And then the other ones yield 200 and 300%. Wow. Coney's the CONY is kind of the voice of reason in this situation here. Now, the NAV has not been so reasonable. It's dropped from $68 to 41. All right. Hey, Dividend Degenerate, thank you for being here. Hey, Jack, Dividend Degenerate said, hey, wherever you're at. Jackson, I don't know where Jackson's at. Silver is the place to be. Correct. Thank you for being here. Z Bikerman. Hey, William. Yeah, K-Cell's been on fire. Anything with an S, L, and a V on it has been, I don't care what it is, SLVO, SL, anything. It's on fire. No, K-Cell's been particularly good. Howard does a great job. Howard does a great job. Yeah, you guys have all been all over silver. I know that you guys have been talking about it for months in here. Don't you mention it all the time, Bikerman and Bond? But anyway, yeah, you guys have been all over it. Okay, so let's talk max factor here. So let's get back to this. So let's just line it up by quarterly NAV. So the best NAV on the quarter, every one of these was negative. The best NAV was TSLP that was dropped 30 cents. Remember, from 23.74 to 23.45 was at 55.65, 29 cents. Yeah, 29 cents. I mean, so that's the best NAV of the bunch. The second best NAV is NVDY. Once again, a YieldMax product, kind of being the voice of reason on the more conservative side. We expect Curve to be on the more conservative side of the spectrum, but not usually YieldMax. Although in this subset of funds we're looking at, we're looking at YieldMax. We're looking at Granite Shares, which is also over on the risky side of things. And we're also looking at Rex, which is, which isn't as risky as Granite Shares, but which is not risky. You wouldn't say Rex is necessarily conservative. Rex is pretty aggressive. And then, of course, we have Bitwise, which is kind of the oddball out here with that ICOI. And I guess that's the only ones Bitwise has in here is ICOI tonight. Okay. So let's look at the Moxie rating, and I concur with this 100%. NVDY. I mean, like I said, I said it when I was talking just a second ago. I said, you pay me 80%, and I'll lose $1 every quarter for the rest of my life if you're paying me 80%. Yield. Anyway, but yeah, this does, NVDY, TSLP. They have a lot of Moxie. They have a lot of Moxie. Okay, so that's the Moxie ranking. Now let's look at the StableDex. This is how stable the funds are compared to the broader market. We'll go from most stable to least stable. The most stable, and I don't believe this, but statistically speaking, is NVYY. Second most stable is NVDY. They're both about only half as stable as the overall market, but actually that's pretty safe for a single stock. If you had to get a single stock, this is one of the more stable single stocks. But anyway, then we have NV2. I do concur with the NVIDIA surrogates being on the more stable side because it's a more stable stock, in my opinion, than the other two. More stable underlying. Anyway, all right, that's the StableDex. Let's see who's the least stable. COIW and ICOI. All right, so let's look at the short-term X factor. TSLP, would you take a look at that? I mean, you got to love anything where the NAV is. I mean, the NAV's just such a key element, and it's just beating all the other ones. The next closest one is full 8% behind just on NAV. I mean, and this TSLP doesn't pay a huge dividend, but it pays 33%. It's not like it pays 6% and does really well on NAV. Still pays a huge yield. But yeah, editor's choice. TSL. I'll stick with that. I think editor's choice. I think TSLP absolutely deserves this. Let's do a couple little quick comparisons here. Then I'll answer some questions if you want. Then I have to go to a dog birthday party. TSLP and TSLP and TSLI. TSLP. Well, I hope I'm not missing the birthday party. TSLI. Well, that's pretty close. I'll let you guys look at that. Hang on a second. I'm going to go check on the birthday party status. Hey, what do you have at cake? Okay, well, I'm on my live. I don't want to miss the cake, but I'll give me about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. All right. All right, I got the cake cutting postponed for 5 or 10 minutes, but that dog only turns 11 once, and he's a darn good dog. So we're baking him a cake tonight, and we almost caught the damn house on fire. It's a long story. It's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. All right. So TSLP and TSLY. Wow. And this happens to be exactly a quarter. What are the odds of that? How did I don't think I did that. Is that? Well, it must have been set up on these dates. That's not a coincidence. I've looked. It's not a coincidence. On the editor's choice, I was thinking about making it NVDY because the NVDY did have a lot of Moxie, a lot of risk in relation to the reward you get. Let's just compare these two. Now it's apples to oranges because one's Tesla and one's NVIDIA. They both get to the finish line at the same spot, basically. I mean, they're very close at the finish line. All right. Who else here? Bonds here. We got Trucking for Dividends here. Oh, did the NVDY distribution suck? I hadn't even looked at it. All right. Want to talk to Diversified Divas? Who has Alti? Is everyone happy with, or not Alt Y? I'm not trying to start a fight. Alt I from Rex. Does anyone have Alt-I from Rex? Boy, they had a heck of a day today. Let's pull out this chart. Well, let's see, regular. And let's see if that's dividends on or dividends off. That is not adjusted for dividends. It's still not doing great. Even if we adjust it for dividends, you can still see you're underwater. 23 to 17 was that 5? Well, whatever. We follow. It's like 25%. I have it right here. I tried to eyeball everything. There it is. It's right there. There it is. It's actually 24 point. My eyeball was pretty close to it though. I just said 25, but yeah, there it is. We follow that all the time. Man, I mean, it's great that it was up so much today, but man, they just got themselves in started off in such a hole. Anyway, but you guys that bought it, that didn't buy it from the get-go, that maybe bought it a few weeks ago or whatever, probably in good shape. But I chickened out. I should have bought it when it dipped, but I chickened out. I think the ones I have, I mean, as you know, I'm pretty happy with QLDY. Other than the Divas, I got QLDY, WPay, and well, I guess that's it. So I got QLDY and WPay, but I think those are good ones in addition to the Divas. And then the Diva that I do not own is ULTI. I was going to own it, but it just didn't work out that way. So that's the diversified Divas. So your bond, you sold your ULTI. Well, hopefully you sold it today because you could have got a pretty good price for it. Whatever. These funds aren't for everybody, and especially ULTI. Out of all these funds, all the ones I've ever looked at, blocks, ULTI are the riskiest. I mean, and then not quite as risky. Really not quite as risky. But then about 80% as risky as that. You're going to have things like WPay, ULTY, KYield, all the rest. I mean, but anyway. All right. What else you guys want to look at? Let's see here. Let's take a look at the old. Maybe this is the heat map just happens to be up. Let me refresh and make sure it's today's heat map. About half the sector's up, half of them down. Boy, IBIT just had a monster day, or in other words, Bitcoin. Look at the energy sector. Just killing it up a couple percent. Consumer staples had a good day, as did real estate, utilities, and healthcare has been having a great quarter. And tech down at the bottom. Tech, communications, and consumer discretionary. All right, so let's go here. Let's just look at a 3-month basis. Who do you think the best fund over the past 3 months is? Why does it say real name is up on the screen? Oh, I don't care. Everyone knows my real, but I appreciate it. Everyone knows my real name. It's Mike McIntosh. Or a lot of you guys do, and a lot of you guys have my phone number. I'm not trying to hide anything, but yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, that shows up all the time. Oh yeah, you're currently signed in. I have an account that's under Max Convexity, but my main account is where I have my credit card and all my billing stuff, and most of the stuff I buy from the main account. It was just too much trouble to have the Max Convexity account. I have a Max Convexity account right here, This one right here is it's actually says Max Convexity on Gmail and stuff, but yeah. Um, then I have three accounts. So, um, all right, what else do you guys want to look at? Let's look at the old index buffer or something like that. And then I know I need to share the right screen. I'm also sharing the wrong screen. What does that mean right there? Oh, that's cool. Oh, gosh darn it. Gosh darn it. Hang on. All right. Okay, I'm getting back here. So K yield came up at the same time, and it's working its way back. Yeah. I mean, K yield's doing a great job. Yeah. I thought you guys knew my real name. I've told other people my real name. All right. I think Max Convexity sounds cooler than mine. It's cool that my last name's Macintosh, and I happen to love Apple computers. Um, but it then anyway. But other than that, yeah, QLDY looks pretty good. But okay, so trucking QLDY does beat all, but does it beat Chippy? Anyway, it doesn't beat Chippy this quarter, of course. But looking at just a quarter and saying this fund beats this fund, I mean, when they both have great quarters, there's several good funds in this. I think all these funds have potential, but the ones that I think that are really impressing me, K yield, QLDY, and I like some of the other ones. Sometimes I get my emotions mixed up with, but as far as the ones that are doing very well, QLDY and K yield are doing a great job. I think Blocks is a great fund. I don't care what anyone says, but and I think Alti's a good fund also. But in any event, but yeah, I would agree with you. QLDY is looking super. I think the only downside to QLDY, and this is what I'm basing this on, just watching it, watching the way it trades, and tracking it every day. We have all the prices right here and stuff. I've noticed it. What I think the weakness is going to be in an extended bull run. It'll be up, but it's gonna. I mean, then I think at that point people might go, "Man, I wish I had Blocks because Blocks is killing it." In other words, I think it's great, but I think it's Achilles heel or whatever. I think it's like fatal flaw, or not fatal flaw, but I think the trade-off is it's going to be extremely stable, including on the way up. So, but in any event, okay, at what point would K-Sil start hitting its options and be kept? Boy, that's, with the way Howard's trading that, we could, oh gosh, Howard adjusts those options all the time. I could pull up the options and we could look at what strike they are and stuff, but I don't know anything about silver options. I mean, I don't, if it was in the SPY or something, we pull it up and I could check it out and stuff. But no, we let Howard handle all that kind of stuff. But I believe I've heard him talk about his general theory of what he's doing, and I can show you the general theory of what he's doing. If you want to talk about that really quick, then I got to go get to this dog birthday party. Let's see. The general theory of what Howard's doing. So we'll just pull up a covered call. We'll do it in SILV. SLV. That's what he's trading. All right. So, I'm trying to think here the best way to show this. Let's see. Okay, we'll just do like this. Like he's doing synthetic. He's using synthetics. I'm just going to try to show you one thing. This right here is a covered call. It goes out a month and it sells. And this is your basic, basic covered call. Sells a 36 delta. Goes out a month. I mean, that's A good looking covered call right there. That's your basic. That's your basic. Now, in interviews, what he's described doing is using a synthetic approach. So that's the reason I made a duplicate, so we can see one and then the other. But I'm going to switch. Let's see. Actually, let me duplicate it again. Let's duplicate it this way. All right. So what he does is instead of the stock, scratches the stock. You don't need the stock. It ties up too much money. Forget about the stock. Remove the stock. You could still sell a call, but now you have unlimited loss on the upside, so you have to have something to replicate the stock. So instead of that, what he does is I'm trying to think how far he goes, but he buys a call. In other words, he doesn't buy stock. He buys a call. And with the call he buys, he goes out at least a quarter. Something like that. Yeah, and he creates what's called a calendar spread. And it's something similar to that. But anyway, my point was with this professional option traders, hedge funds will use a deep in the money option in lieu of buying the stock because it's cheaper. And that so the trade's really something like this. They'll just go get, see this right there, see that where it says 89 delta? That means it moves up 89 cents for every dollar the index moves up. It moves, that's basically very close to stock, but it doesn't tie up as much money. What Howard does that I think is interesting, so this is 89 deltas. I'm trying to think of a good way to show this. I bit off more than I could chew in this explanation. All right. This option right here is 75 deltas. Let's just get what's 2 times 75, 150. Okay. This option right there is worth 150 shares of stock. Okay. So you can leverage yourself. You can leverage yourself by using options instead of stock. That's what Howard does. What he does is he buys enough options to replicate 120%, not 150. This is 150. I just did it because the math worked out. But he buys enough options to replicate 120%. So he gets a little bit more. Then he still, so this one, so let's look what he's done on this one. So this right here, you own 2 options at 74. So 74, it's 75 plus 75 is 150, right? Yeah, 150. So you have 150 long, you're long 150, but then right here you have this short call, you're short 36. So what's 150 minus 36? It's 115 or whatever. That means this trade right here is worth 115 shares of stock. This trade I just put together right here has about 15% leverage, and he's doing something similar to this. He's buying a little bit more synthetics than he otherwise could. He's not using stock, and he's leveraging it up. But right here, you can see compared to stock, here's a covered call. Here's a plain Jane covered call trade. And here's the way Howard's, here's a levered covered call play. You can see at expiration, the white line is the normal, bad way to do it, the unlevered way to do it. The green line is the levered way to do it. So you can leave yourself more chance for profit. But also the thing I love most about this is it has limited downside. In other words, because the option you bought is your downside. You bought 272.5 strike calls. So you can't lose under 72.5. Or, well, that's not right. Well, I'm trying to think of a better way to put this. You can't lose all the way down to 0. In this trade right here, a standard covered call, let's say it drops 50%. just a nightmare scenario, an earnings trade, and it happens in earnings trade. You have an earnings trade, it drops 50%. That would make this, well, let's do a 70% drop to make it more noticeable. 70% drop, your standard covered call will be down $5,400. Okay. This way of doing it would only be down 2,900. You have a lot less overall risk, and you have more profit in an up move. So anyway, Howard's doing something like that. It's a levered synthetic covered call. So, but the fund K-Silv isn't a levered fund. They don't advertise as such, but I heard him interviewed and he described a scheme similar to what I showed you. So so he goes for his covered calls. He goes for trying to replicate 100 shares of stock. So in other words, he tries to still get full upside despite the fact he's selling the covered call, at least mathematically. See, on this trade, this plain Jane covered call, let's add up your deltas. You have stock. So stock is worth 100. So you're long 100. So that's plus 100. And then you're minus 35. So you're 15 right there. Or no, you're 85. You're long 85. This trade is like being long 85 shares of stock. Okay. The levered way to do it is like being long 115 or 20 shares of stock, and you have less downside. I really like that strategy. I need to start doing some of those trades on my own account, or I need to incorporate this strategy. This is it's a really solid strategy. I like it the more I look at it. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys asked me about it because I really hadn't thought about it too much until I just kind of thought it through there. But that, it's a good looking strategy. And so look at it compared to the white line. The white line is the old fashioned covered call strategy. All right. The red and green is the new strategy. Okay. So right here, the red and green is better everywhere on the curve. This is how much time has passed. So like if we close it, tomorrow, okay, red and green is better. Looks to me everywhere on the curve right here. There's a little bit of additional loss in a big down move. The reds, you can see it's a little ahead of see, so that's your give up right there. Your give up isn't a big down move, but if it moves up and you close it, there's extra profit. You're ahead of the white line. And you can see, if you went out this far, the green line's still ahead of the white line. Still some give up on the downside, but in a big down move, you actually do a little better. But if you hold it till expiration, that's not the worst looking strategy. That's not the worst looking strategy at all. No, so that trade right there is it's just a covered call. Well, they're saying diagonal call. Okay, well, it's a diagonal call spread, but it's a substitute for a covered call. These options right here, they don't expire for like 6 months, and it moves about the same like stock does. That's your stock, but the idea is you sell these options once a week. If you're doing this mechanically, you could keep writing these shorter term options every, it depends on what cycle you're in. I went out every month, but so after February, when this one expired, you could go out and in theory, you could do a March expiration. Okay. And that would bring in more yield. And then in April, this is a great way to do a little, but so I would say, technically, it's called a diagonal call spread because you're buying one call and you're selling a different call in a different time, in a different expiration. It's also called a calendar spread. Well, a calendar is a diagonal. So, but it's really just, it's trying to be a covered call. It's a synthetic covered call. It's a type of a synthetic covered call. All right. But as far as to answer your questions, on far as when does K-Silv hit their options to be capped, the idea is even if they are capped, what I was trying to show with that whole thing. Yes, even if they are capped, they're still mathematically trying to cheat the system a little bit to where they should still have approximately the same upside as the stock. But due to the leverage, no guarantees or whatever. And the other thing is, and also Howard's he's not just gonna hold till expiration. He's gonna roll it and manage it. So you have to factor that in also. But so in other words, there's no answer. They're probably rolling these every day. I would imagine with silver skyrocketing, they probably have to roll these all the time. They're probably covering and rolling them all the time. I would imagine. Many days, the past few weeks, K-Sil has done better than silver. Not today, but that it kind of makes sense that it might be, because now that I showed you the trading strategy, you can see why on some days it might have a little extra gas in the tank here. So yeah, that is a diagonal call spread. We'll talk about the iron condor, iron butterfly is what ULTI does. That's a different strategy. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. This is just a covered call, a creative way to do a covered call. This is the way a hedge fund would do a covered call, or I mean, probably not. I hate to see when QLDY drops below 47. Why are you worried about 47? Is it a technical area or something? Now let me turn dividends off, because if we're talking technicals, you're probably not looking at dividends. So yeah, under 47, you're just thinking because it breaks. It is under 47. It's under 47 right now. Anyway, tell me more what you mean, JT. But yeah, I hope it just keeps going up. Just rolling 1/2 on. Yeah, Truck, and I think I know what you're asking. Let's go back here. So I had sold. There was 2 sells and 2 buys. Hang on a second. I'm trying to. Well, we were long 2 and short 2. We could have also done it like this. The 2 really didn't have anything to do with it. Oh, I take that back. Wait, the 2 did have something to do with it. We needed this 2 because that's what gives us 75 plus 75. That's what gives us 150. Oh, but I didn't add it up right. So this, okay, but this gives us negative 70. 150 minus, I did the math wrong on this. It's not important. It's not important, but someone's following my math. It may not have, it may not have added up. Anyway, yeah, covered spread. But so on the rolling, yeah, you would, I think I know you're okay. So the way you would, exactly. You have one that you go out 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or a year. The synthetic, you go out further in time. And yeah, theoretically, you keep that on for, say you do it in the 6-month time frame, you keep it on for 3 months. Then when it's 3 months away, you put on a new one in the 6-month time frame, something like that. Yeah, that's the so you're just rolling the shorter one. You're hopefully just letting that one expire. But if it runs up and goes through it, you could also have the chance to roll it. But yeah, just keeping the other one as stock. There's people, I'm trying to think on the internet. Hang on. I didn't mean to do all caps. There it is. The secret to turbocharging your covered call trades. He's going to show you basically the same thing I just did. I'll share it in the links. He's going to show you some of the same theories I did. I forget which exactly that one is. He'll show you how to use leverage or something. Anyway, these guys do it. I think they do a good job of teaching some of the mechanics of. These guys are more not just teach about options, but they're teaching option. They're teaching trading, how to day trade options and stuff, and how to swing trade options. Anyway, okay. So let me give this. Let me give this to you right here. Yeah, S&B is good. I did the world's worst explanation, but it's hard to do what I was trying to do with just a one or two lot. Howard, they on bigger numbers, they can buy, they can buy 104 contracts and then they can sell 40. They can with just when you have to use one or two, then that ratios just don't come out right. Don't come out the same. So yes, the put stays and the covered call rolls. And actually, that's not okay. So that's a great question. That's a great question. There is no puts used in this. It's just two calls. Okay. And there's in both either way to do it. In the way to do it with stock, there's stock plus a sold call. The other way, there's bot calls and sold calls, but no puts. Yeah. But the sold calls that are in the shorter time frame that expire in the monthly time frame. So this is the monthly time frame. This is the quarterly time frame. So in theory, the idea of these types of trades. So that's why I showed you that S&B. It's called campaigning. You can do this over the course of a year, and do a covered call campaign. But yeah, just I didn't give the clearest explanation of it though. And all right, what else do you got? What else do you guys want to talk about? Is anything else going on? Why is the market not moving? QLD wise, I'd like to know what JT is. What did you mean when it's down below 47? You never did answer, but anyway, I mean, I don't want any of these to drop. I mean, this reminds me when I was growing up, in the late 70s, the Hunt brothers out of Fort Worth. I think it was maybe late 70s or early 80s. There was a silver short squeeze, and there's more to it than that. I forget the exact details. Had to do with an oil money family from Fort Worth, and it actually was a delivery squeeze, I think is what it was. Anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. But I think these guys from Fort Worth owned so many. They either bought or they had sold. I forget which side of the trade they were on. They bought or they had sold so many silver options. It's something they had to take physical delivery of all this silver, or they had to provide physical delivery to someone else. I forget which side of the trade they were on. There's all kinds of great stuff on it. Maybe I need to do some content on it. That's actually not a bad idea. Okay, yes, a leap. Same theory as doing a leap. It doesn't. I just chose 3-month arbitrarily. I just look at these funds do these trades all the time. They always do the one that's the stock substitute in the longer time frame. It can be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. They do the shorter one in the weekly or monthly. Just wham, but So it's more the theory that I was trying to show you. It could be a leap. It could absolutely be a leap. 100%. 100%. Just buy a leap and you campaign against it. So let me, okay, I need to get to this dog birthday party, but let me show you this. Let me try to show this better. All right, so started SPY cover call. All right, move stock, add, buy call. Okay, so we're going to go change expiration, and we'll go out a year. We'll go out till next February. Yeah, but that'd actually be a great way to do it. I should have tried that. So that's our long. But remember, we need 100 delta, or we want like at least 90 deltas. That's only 63. That's 74. We have to go pretty far in the money to get it, you know. That's 82. Maybe the 570. What's that? 88. Um, 90. Okay. So there we go. So that's our stock right there. That leap doesn't expire for a year. Now it's, you know, it's way in the money and stuff. It ties up $16,000. But if we were going to do this with stock, right, we need 100 shares of the SPY, which ties up. Well, we'll just do it like this. We'll just buy SPY and we'll cancel that. But yeah, you could absolutely do it with the leap. I'm trying to do a little comparison like I did last time. And yeah. But you can, well, yeah. All right, where's that the money? So that's a 50 delta, 45 delta. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, but yeah, you could absolutely do it with the leap. Absolutely do it with a leap. If you have Tasty Trade, they have a back tester. If you like this kind of stuff, you can go in there and you can test it all day long against. You know, you can try it with the 3 month, 6 month, 9 month. I do all these things all the time. The longer you go is generally less volatile, but there's a usually you want to go out a year or something, but there's a drawback too when you do this. Well, I'll talk about that some other time. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate this. I better get out of here to this dog's birthday party, but there's that video to S&B Capital. If you're interested in this, they'll explain it better. Like go look at them, and they show you 3 ways to turbocharge a covered call profit. They'll show you how to add a little bit of leverage and how to do a diagonal calendar type spread and give yourself a little leverage. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Thank you, Truckin, for being here. Thanks for contributing and commenting and all that good stuff. And I will talk to you guys in the morning. All right. See you later.